Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Later.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I will call this meeting of the Milton Planning Commission to order. This is September 27th, and it's about 6 minutes after 7. This is a regular meeting of the Milton Planning Commission. I'm George Ragsdale. This is a 7-member commission appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations on rezonings, use permits, and concurrent variance applications, the comprehensive land use plan and plan map, and other related plans and amendments to the zoning ordinance. I'd like to introduce the members of the Planning Commission. To my left, Commissioner Fred Edwards, Commissioner Paul Moore, Commissioner Jennifer Fletcher, Commissioner Chris Doty, and Commissioner Joe Kramer. The missing is Curtis, who is actually coming in the door. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. I'd like to acquaint you with some of the rules and procedures for conducting this meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal. I'm going to skip over that. We don't have any petitions this evening. What we will do is have a public comment session in the beginning. We will allow each person, if they want to speak on something that is not on the agenda, up to 2 minutes to do that. I don't think, with no items on the agenda, I think I can skip the remainder of the introductory comments, and except to say, please make sure that there are no demonstrations of any sort within the chamber. Please make sure that your cell phones are either off or on silent. Any remarks that you would like to make need to be addressed to the Planning Commission. We will give, hopefully, everybody an opportunity to speak. That's certainly our intent. And let's go into general, let's start the meeting. Public comment. Is anybody here like to say anything about something that's not on the agenda? We have 2 items on the agenda tonight. This is the public comment period when you can speak on something not on the agenda. Seeing none, I need a motion to close public comment.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment is closed. Next, we need to approve some minutes. First are the minutes of the July 26th Planning Commission meeting. Has everybody received and read the minutes from the 26th meeting? Any changes? Okay, hearing none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Made and seconded. Jennifer and Chris were absent, so I assume we'll abstain. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, two abstentions, rather.
Okay.
Next are the minutes of the Planning Commission. Actually, we'll do the joint work session first. We had a joint work session on August 24th with the Historic Preservation Commission. The minutes of that joint work session are also in front of you. Any changes or corrections in those minutes? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Again, 1 abstention on that. Last are the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting that we had following the work session on August 24th. Any changes to the minutes from that meeting? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve.
So second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Everybody was here. Okay. The first item on the agenda, Robin, would you call the first item?
Sure. RZ 1116 to amend Article 18 of the zoning ordinance, Historic Preservation Commission. This item you all reviewed with the Historic Preservation Commission at the joint work session on August 24th. So we're here for you to make your official vote. I don't really have any more comments unless anybody has anything further to ask or add or make changes. I think thoroughly reviewed it. So
Okay.
Staff doesn't have anything further to say unless you all have some questions.
Okay. I apologize. Let me pause for a minute. I wanted to acknowledge and introduce to those of you that are out there. We've all met her up here, but Kathy Fields is our new Director of Community Development, and she's sitting up there next to Robin. Stand up and be recognized. So, welcome. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but a lot of the things we talked about during that joint work session did not get captured in what was sent around with these minutes. So at least for me, there are some things I want to talk about before we do anything with this document. But I'll throw the floor open for comments from anybody.
Public first. Or?
Yeah, public.
Anybody here want to speak for or against the historic preservation ordinance that's in front of us tonight? Okay, I didn't think so. But we should have,
It's been closed.
yeah, we should have a motion to close public comment.
So moved. Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Comments. Joe, why don't we start your end? Anything?
I don't have anything.
Curtis? Chris?
No.
Brad?
Nope.
Paul?
Well, gee, hate to be the naysayer.
You're not.
I will just sort of revisit some of the things that I brought to the table that I found as issues the night of the joint work session. I know those aren't captured in our minutes because they are whatever that kind of minutes are called, and they are captured on Granicus for all who want to go look at it on tape. But bottom line for me is I have a hard time supporting this in its entirety. I think that it's important that we do have a historic preservation society, and that it do the things that are important to Milton to identify the buildings that create Milton and create a sense of place for us. But some of the details and the content that are captured in here just, I think, are out of place for that particular panel in its less than official capacity, in my mind. In particular, the issue that I take is the creation of the historic zoning, what do you call it?
District.
There are a number of issues that were within that still are not rectified within the content of the document that we have before us. I know that it has to go forward to the mayor and council for its review in its current presentation, because that was how the discussion went that night. But I still have the same objections that I raised that night. Robin, you have
Ask a question / comment. You're talking about, we did discuss the proposed H district.
Yes.
That is not in this document at all. You will be looking at it at
No,
the
we're
next.
talking about two different things, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's- okay,
The
let's
creation
make
of a
sure.
historic district is in here. The ordinance
Okay.
for zoning is
You're talking
not.
about the historic
Right.
district.
I take
itself.
exception
Okay.
to both, but what's in here is the historic
Okay,
district.
I just want to make sure.
And and George, you were going to be much more definitive, and you were much more eloquently spoken than I did at the last meeting about it in particular, but the whole conforming versus non-conforming issue as to what the property owner's rights are or not, as defined within a historic zoning district, I just still take exception to. So until we get that pounded out, I just have a hard time with what the document currently contains.
Robin, I think I've got 5 pretty specific comments, all of
Sure.
which were discussed before. First,
Okay.
I just want to make sure that the way that we have defined the design review board here is consistent with the way that the design review board membership is defined in the ordinance for the design review board.
Okay?
So we've added the word "or," so it is no longer a requirement, the way I read this, that the design review board members are residents of the city.
I think it's meant to be and/or business owners.
Right,
of the
which
city.
means that they can own a business but not be a resident. I just want to make sure that that's consistent with the way that the membership of the design review
Sure.
board is defined.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is the question on that, as well as some of the others, changes that were made by the commission itself or by the state?
None of the changes in here were made by the state. All
Okay,
the
all
changes
these
in
are the
here were
ones.
either made by the commission or by staff.
Fine.
Okay, I'll read you what the ordinance states for the
Okay.
composition, of the DRB. The City of Milton Design Review Board shall consist of a 7-member board of residents, landowners, business owners, professional architects, or land planners who either maintain primary residences or businesses or own land in the city.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay. My primary substantive comments are those that are along the lines that Paul alluded to a minute ago. We've defined contributing and non-contributing in here, which is a change from what was in front of us before. The idea of contributing and non-contributing is consistent with the state guideline ordinance. But as I read the definition of non-contributing on page 2, there's a very specific exclusion here that says that non-contributing properties are not subject to the procedures for material alterations unless the change amounts to new construction that equals or exceeds 25% of the land area or building. Am I reading that correctly?
It appears so, yes.
Okay. So then when I go over to the section 642455A, which is on page 9, it says, after the designation of a historic district, no material change in the appearance of a historic property or of a contributing or non-contributing building, structure, blah, 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 shall occur or be permitted to be made by the owner unless or until the application and approval of a certificate of appropriateness. That, to me, seems to be very inconsistent. The definition of non-contributing allows for an exemption unless they are using or changing unless they're A, new construction, and B, changing more than 25% of the land area or building. It does not require, the way I read it, non-contributing structures to be subject to the certificate of material appropriateness unless they fall in that category. Which I'm fine with. That's what I wanted to say. But it's inconsistent.
So would you like it to be, well, you don't want it to be consistent.
No, I mean, I think the definition's fine because it exempts non-contributing properties from having to go through that unless they are, but I think we need to reword the language of 642455A to allow for, non-contributing properties that are subject to the review process, as opposed to all non-contributing, which is the way it's worded now. Robin, if my point is right, then we don't need to take it up here. I mean, we can probably work on alternative wording to make them work together, but.
Well, this is for approval, so we do need to work on wording.
Okay.
This is going to go to the council next month.
My suggestion would be on page 9 that we delete the words "or non-contributing" so that it would read "or of a contributing blah, 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 blah shall be subject to the approval," and then add a sentence that says for non-contributing buildings, only those that exceed and whatever the words are back in the 25%, only those that are new construction and exceed 25% are subject to this approval process.
Okay.
I like that. That's consistent with the conversation that we had that
Right.
night. And that was the debate that we had.
Right,
But it's consistent with how we left it, that we'd like to see it.
right.
So basically, it would read, the A would be approval of material change in appearance involving historic properties after the designation by ordinance of historic property or of a historic district. No material change in the appearance of such historic property or of a contributing building, structure, site, or object within such historic district shall occur or be permitted to be made by the owner or occupant thereof unless or until the application and approval of a certificate of appropriateness. Certificate of appropriateness, oh, is that, that's, okay, that's it. End of sentence.
Right.
And then insert, for non-contributing building or site, property or of a historic district, when the amount of new construction equals or exceeds 25% of the land area or building, let's see, or building ground floor area of the property at the time of its identification as non-contributing. So that takes that sentence from page 2.
Right.
So we're all okay with that?
That works for me.
Okay.
Curtis?
I've got a question about that. I took that to mean incremental space, incremental footprint, and the way you described it before, it sounded like change, the 25%. So I understood that to mean a footprint change
I agree with
exceeding
you.
25. Okay.
Right.
All right. That's the way you. Okay. All right.
Right. It says, it specifically says when the amount of new construction equals or exceeds 25% of either the land area or the
I thought
building
you
ground
said
floor.
change before, so impacting, and I've seen some code that looked at the amount of the affected footprint, and
Well, this
that's different than new
this
space.
specifically says a new construction, and then it also has to be new construction that's greater than 25%.
That's fine. That's the way I understood it.
Okay. Robin, the other one is again, somewhat substantive, but as I look at the membership definition in section 642453B, which is on page 3, the language in here has changed so much that I think we've lost something. It says that the HPC, what it says now is the HPC shall consist of 7 members appointed by the council, with each appointing 1 member whose term will be 4 years, but shall be subject to reappointment for concurrent terms. That last phrase has no meaning for me.
Okay, I believe that was done. There was a text amendment to fix that issue before, so
To fix what issue?
how it was translated, it had to be for each concurrent term. Reappointment for
You can't reappoint for a concurrent term. That's my point. I mean, a concurrent term is a term that's at the same time.
let's see what,
The old language says that each member will appoint 1 member whose term will be concurrent with the appointing council member's term.
Yep.
And that was, I thought, what we had in mind, but somehow the language got kind of bollocksed up in here.
okay, this is what, okay, this is what was just done in, this past summer. It was on April 25th of this year. It was fixed to say, the HPC shall consist of 7 members appointed by the Milton City Council concurrent with appointing council members' term. All members shall be residents of the city of Milton and shall be persons So that's the correct one.
That's not what this says.
Right, and I think what's happened was it wasn't codified yet, and when Angela pulled it, that was the old reading, so.
Okay,
we'll
but,
put it in the
but to your point, if this is what's going forward for approval,
We
we
need to
need to
fix
make
it.
sure it's right.
Yes.
'Cause what you just read is, I think, what we intended.
new- Yes, and that's what the new, it's
Okay.
just, it was, the timing of the codification didn't get caught, so.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that's been done. So I'll fix that.
The last thing I had was one thing that was something we talked about in our work session. It's actually, I gotta get the section right. It's in 64-2454, B as in boy 3 on page 6. It says evaluation of properties and the width should be within.
I'm sorry, I was losing you. Which letter?
B as in boy 3.
Okay.
It says evaluation of properties with historic districts, and just say, should say within.
Okay.
That's all I have. Any other comments, changes from anyone? If not, we need to move it forward. Or not. Need a motion. Anybody want to make one? I move that we approve the ordinance as amended by the changes we discussed tonight for presentation to the city council.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? One.
One.
Okay. 6-1. Okay.
Okay, the next item is RZ 11-17 to amend Article 16 of the zoning ordinance signs. This is the item that was under discussion the last work session. We needed to have further time for discussion, so staff recommends that for a deferral to the October meeting, and that once we adjourn for this meeting, we'll open it up for another work session.
Okay. We will entertain public comment at this point. Anybody that would like to speak, what?
I told everybody to do theirs at the work session so that they can be more informal.
Okay. Procedurally, though, there may be people that either have to leave or may want to
Okay.
leave. I think, let's just follow the process.
Okay, that's fine.
To the extent there's any public comment at this point, we'll entertain public comment, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with it. So if anybody would like to speak, we will, our intent is to defer this to a work session immediately following this. So if you do have something you want to say and you can hang around for 15 minutes, we would prefer that you do that. But if you do have to leave and you want to make a comment into the record now, please come forward and do that.
Anybody, I have a bunch of cards that you need to speak now.
Now's the right time to hear public comment. So now's the right time, Kevin.
The first person is Bernie Tokars, North Fulton Chamber.
Yeah, members of the commission, my name is Bernie Tokars. I work with the Greater North Fulton Chamber and our Economic Development Initiative Progress Partners. Just wanted to come tonight and, let you know that we hear from our members in the city of Milton that the sign ordinance is broken. It is negatively affecting their business. We have restaurants and retail spaces that been in business for, a year, less than a year, that are almost, to the point where they have to go out of business because they can't advertise. And I'd ask you to take their comments into consideration when drafting the new ordinance and presenting it to the city council. We're a city, not a club, and I think we should keep that in mind when we are writing this new ordinance. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else that wants to speak now? Come forward. You need to fill out a comment card. Go ahead.
I have it.
Okay.
What was your name, sorry? again? Yeah, with NTV, okay.
Like I said, my name is Gerald Norwood, and I represent National Tire and Battery. I'm one of the area group managers there. We have stores in Alpharetta, Roswell, and we just built a brand new store right here on the corner of Webb Road and Alpharetta Highway. And when doing the grand opening, I had to come here to get a permit, which I paid $25 for. And to get that permit, I can only have one sign. There's a tent. I can have a tent and one sign saying grand opening, and that's not a grand opening. And I understand we want to keep Milton beautiful, and it's a beautiful city, and I understand that. I understand we have to be consistent in that. But what we're asking is for us to give us a little bit more. We need a little bit of help. We want to advertise. We want to bring business and revenue to the city as well. We want to be part of the community. But we just need a little bit of leniency in this area. We need to come together because we're not many blocks away from other cities, and we're a few blocks from other different ordinances, and they get to, to display signs in a little different manner. It gives them a little bit, a little step ahead. Like I said, we just want to be able to let people know we're there, and we want to be part of the community. And I understand the signs need to be all consistent, and also there was a situation I had for us not having any signs or banners on the building or the exteriors, which we built. We spent a lot of money to build these buildings, and we just want to let people know they're there. Like I said, limiting the business to one small sign. I know I've had Mr. Law come out and talk to me about that and explain that ordinance to me. But one sign, we might as well not have a sign because it's not, I'm not being able to reach out to the business revenue and let them know I'm there to help support them. Basically, it comes down to we just need to group some more design guidelines, and let's be consistent and just give us a little bit more flexibility on a consistent basis in order to reach out to the people that want to come and do business with us. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Discussion.
Is he going to ask these people that are going to stay and contribute some more? Ask these people to stay and contribute some more, because there's questions I'd like to ask of these people.
Okay. Let's do this. I think it's going to make more sense because I know all of you would like to speak, and we want to be able to have the opportunity to interact with you. What I'd like to do is entertain a motion that we defer this to a work session, and then we can have a little bit more informal discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Can you also defer it to next month so we can re-advertise it? Because you won't be able to vote on it at the work session. That was
We
kind
can
of
defer to the
intent.
next council meeting. Is that what you mean?
No.
I mean, to the next planning commission
Planning
meeting?
commission in October.
Sure.
So, I'm sorry.
Okay, just amend my motion then to close the public comment for tonight and defer the hearing on said topic until the October Planning Commission meeting.
Okay. Joe,
Second.
Second, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I think in the interest of trying to manage the agenda with all the people that are here, I would suggest that we also defer discussion of the ongoing community development projects until the end of the work session. That's not something that's a discussion for us that are here, and I don't think we should take up the public's time by going through that right now. If everybody's okay with that, I'd like to have a motion to move that to the work session.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Having said that, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
Who did the
Aye.
second? I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Who did the second?
Joe.
Joe.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. End of the planning commission meeting.
Okay.
Quickest one.
Okay. We're not going to say the Pledge of Allegiance again.
Okay, so now,
We are going to start, we'll call to order the work session for Tuesday, September 27th. Robin, call the first item if you would.
okay, it's RZ 11-17, continued discussion of the proposed text amendment to the signed ordinance, Article 16.
Okay. This is a work session, which means that we will not be voting on anything on this ordinance tonight. That's the reason that Robin wanted to make sure we deferred to the next planning commission meeting. So this is an opportunity for some open discussion. The reason that all of you and everybody else that received an invitation was invited to attend tonight was so that we could better understand the perspective of the community with respect to the existing sign ordinance. I would ask you as you come up, first make sure you've filled out a comment card if you want to speak. And if you don't have one, they're over on the shelf Do you have them, or are they over on the
I
shelf?
have some, so if there's anybody else who wants to speak, just bring it up to me.
Okay.
That's
You
fine.
do need to fill out a comment card if you want to speak. The second thing I would ask is try to be as specific as you can. If you have a specific objection to some portion of the existing sign ordinance, tell us what that objection is. It doesn't help us a lot just to say, I don't like the sign ordinance. We need to get specific if we can, because it'll help us better understand what the issues are as we look at changes. The other thing I'd like to correct is the impression that we're creating a new sign ordinance. We're not writing a new sign ordinance. All we're doing is trying to modify the existing sign ordinance. So we're not starting with a clean sheet of paper. We're starting with what we have. And what we want to do is hear your comments about what doesn't work in your opinion, or does work, for those of you that are out there that think that we shouldn't have any signs. So we'll entertain whatever comments you have. Go ahead.
I would just ask if I could add, George, is the good news is that we recognize that there were some problems with the sign ordinance. And some members of city staff and myself and Jennifer and a relatively short list of members of the community's businesses did meet for probably the last,
8 months.
well, not that long, probably 5 months though. And we did take a swipe. So the good news is we've heard some of your concerns and we've tried to move it in the right direction. It's not finished, and we do look forward to your comments tonight. We didn't lose our minds a minute ago when we took the action that we did. I recognize it looked a little silly, but it allows us some informality to be able to engage you in public comment in the last part of the meeting that we just had. We just have to listen. This way, as you guys bring stuff forward, we get a chance to ask questions and really engage each other about a chance to improve the work that's been done. So thank you all for coming tonight, and we look forward to your comments.
Can I just,
Go ahead, Rob.
yeah, before we started with the public comment, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that have been changed since the last time we met. I believe Paul knows about it, but the major things.
Oh, I participated in the changes.
Yes,
so.
you, obviously, so you know it, but the rest of the people don't know unless they've looked very thoroughly through the ordinance. But based on the input just initially from, I think, the last few weeks, both Crabapple and Birmingham Crossroads, we've amended, it's in the text tonight, to allow up to 5% for window signs. For Crabapple, and is it also for Birmingham to have sandwich signs?
Yes.
So that you're allowed to have those old-fashioned sandwich signs as well. So that's just for the crowd's information. So it may not be what you want, but we're just trying to take baby steps toward what needs to happen. So.
And if the community hasn't seen it, we've also made an accommodation for banners.
Okay.
We've extended both. We haven't changed size, but we've extended the terms allowable for banners. We've created some flexibility in the placement of banners. We also took into consideration the real estate community and have addressed some of the concerns about the sign of the real estate signs. There are two different size signs depending upon where they are in the city and the posted speed limit, the type of roads they are, but it was some careful consideration given to the real estate community as well.
Just for clarity, when Paul says we, as he said, there was a committee appointed to try and work on improving the sign ordinance. And so the we that he's talking about are the members of that committee that were active in that process. Nothing has been approved at this point. This is the first time that we as a planning commission have seen these latest changes too. So this is a session for us to try and have some dialogue with you to understand what's out there. Robin, is the red line version of this posted?
It is,
Okay.
and yes, it's been up for about a week, and I only had about 3 copies, so I let some of the.
Okay.
them to
But
have it.
anybody that wants to be aware of the specific changes that are being proposed and discussed, that version is out there. And then obviously, as I said, our purpose tonight is to try and get your comments about what you think needs to be changed to make it better for the city. I don't want to have people lining up for and against, so in whatever order Robin calls them, we will just have people come up and speak.
George,
Yes, Fred.
could we have a fellow from National Battery speak to his specifics located on Windward Parkway, happen to be a customer?
Sure.
Can you be a little more specific as to what your requirements were?
What I'm saying is that,
Would you mind
Just come
coming
on.
to the mic?
Yeah, so it gets on the record.
I was just saying, for the grand opening, then I came up and got a permit for a grand opening. And when I came here, they said it'd be $25, and only I could have one sign in a tent. For a grand opening, I think I would have at least be able to have multiple signs, or either be able to put up some of my some of the banners that we have for some of the art specials that we're offering at that point in time for a grand opening. That's a grand opening. There's nothing grand about one sign.
Did you apply for a banner as well?
Yeah, and that ordinance, I had it, I left it with the shop, but even on that ordinance it only said one sign, everything. I applied for I went to apply for a grand opening permit, and she told me, I forget who the associate was, they showed me the guidelines and everything, and I gave her the $25, and that was the only thing I could have, was one sign and a 10 by 10 tent.
So your one sign, how large did you walk away with the impression that one sign could be?
I walked away, I think she told me no more than 4 feet, 3 to 4
Okay.
feet, something like that, and that's what I hung it from the
Well,
tent.
that's unfortunate because that was a misunderstanding. Because
Right.
you are allowed a grand opening banner that I think, Robin, is 24.
It's 24
yeah.
square
Feet.
feet, so like a,
Yeah.
So it
3
could have
by
been
8
3 by
or-
8.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not like that was the total because it was
No.
showed to me. I still have it in my office.
You were allowed to have that 24 square foot banner, correct?
That's not what it said on, but the permit I
Yeah.
gave it was just. I think it was you that would. Yeah.
So if you'd had approval of a 3 by 8, that would have solved some of your problems.
Yes, right. Yes, definitely. But like I say, it's just that, with the limitation, even on a daily basis, with the limitation of just having one side, a little 3 by 4 sign. It's, we need a little bit more. We need a little bit of help. We're not asking to just be out here just putting stuff everywhere, but we need a little bit of help. We need to be visible. And we need to be out there for the community.
Very good. Thank you.
Were the limitations that, excuse me, I have one question. Were the limitations that you were exposed to a surprise to you?
Yes, sir, definitely. It's definitely a surprise. Because like I said, I'm a group manager, and I have stores in Austell, I have stores in Alpharetta, which Johns Creek, that's a different story. We're still dealing with that. But I have one in Roswell as well, and there's a little bit more. And it's understandable. It's very, very feasible. But it just, when you basically tell us that we can't advertise with some of the small, I would say, limitations, it basically ties our hands. We want to just compete. We just want to be there for the community.
When you say Johns Creek's a different story, what does that mean?
Well, they have a sign orders that we're fighting over there as well. Yeah.
Okay.
The sign ordinance,
All right.
I'm
That they're
sorry.
fighting- that they're fighting over there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And
What-
do you all want to have a time limit per person, or you want them just to speak?
I think in
as-
the interest of the number of people who are here, what we should do is limit it to 2 minutes, and if people want to come back up at the end and we
You can
have
close that
time.
door, I can do the timer.
Okay.
I'll do it in 2 minutes.
Okay, who's next, Rob?
Okay, the next public comment is from Robin Coletti.
Hey, I'm Robin Coletti. My address is 12635 Crabapple Road, Suite 230, Milton, Georgia 30004. I am one of the business owners of Dog Wash Cafe, and I have actually read your sign documents. I don't have a lot of problems with most of it. There's only a couple of things that will have a direct impact on my business. The primary one being the 5% window signage. That's comparable to an ADT sign in the corner. And I've had decals of my business up for, almost 2 years. When we put the decals up, our business increased somewhere between 50 and 60%. Our customer base increased by drive-bys and walk-bys because of the signage.
May I clarify this? What is it that you're using that's making the difference?
It's decals on the window. What we have is basically what that is a picture of the front side of our building on the Crabapple side and the parking lot side. and they're decals with paw prints. One window says grooming, one window says dog wash, and then there's prints just kind of walking across. They're basically, we're always told they're cute, but anyway, you can see out the windows. They do not block view looking in or out. So there's no obstruction there. The other problems that we will have if we take these decals down, one is people will think we're going out of business. They're going to see them come off and go, oh, they must have gone out of business. And, you know, so we're going to lose people just by that, and, you know, during the drive-by. The gas station on the corner, they've already had the problem. They've had people asking them if they were going out of business because their signage came down. The nail salon directly next door, same thing. Also, I have pictures where
It's been
directly
2
across
minutes.
the street from us. It's very desolate and vacant looking because development stopped. And now, basically, if we take the signage down, it's going to look desolate on the other side of the street. And it's going to appear when you start driving right into Crabapple Station, I mean, both Crabapple Station and even the overlay district, that they're going to see more and more signage gone, and they're going to think basically people are going. I took a few other pictures that, you know, basically shows our building. Our signs are not intrusive. And then I showed what it looks like where the sign, 5% sign ordinance was followed. And one sheet there has Birmingham Crossroads, where a lot of the rules have already been implemented. And I was all of these pictures were taken today.
Robin, we're going to have to cut you off in the interest of letting other people speak. And if we have some time at the end, we can come back up.
Okay. So in a nutshell, all I'm asking for is let's change the 5% piece of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Robin? Oh, Curtis, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to ask the same thing that George and I think Paul did, or Chairman Ragsdale and Commissioner Moore, for specifics. And a little bit of background, if that's okay. Mr. Tokars, I guess, had to leave, but he commented that the signed ordinance is broken, and I don't think there is an understanding of where it came from, and you all correct me if you disagree, but about 5 years ago we had this 60-some-odd page document delivered to us by staff, and it was largely co-opted from Fulton. And I remember asking the question, where'd this stuff come from? It was 60-something pages of this is 3x4, and that can't be any bigger than this, and it has to be 4 feet back from the window. Where'd it come from? It was all recommended, and the response was, and that staff person's no longer with us, which is neither here nor there, but they're not in this room, that they took a cut at developing standards that they thought were appropriate for Milton. So that was the basis. And you know the old saying, if you want to control the outcome of a contract, you write the first one yourself. So what you start with is largely what you end up with. We did, I think, as intelligent a job as we could in trying to say, okay, what the heck does that mean? What is 3x4? What's 24 square feet mean? Is that vertical? Is that horizontal? We went out, we took pictures, beat it to death, really, and then approved what we approved, largely what had been recommended to us. And when the smoke cleared and we started to drive by certain signs and said, well, that doesn't make any sense, we knew that there would need to be adjustments, etc. That's point number one. So there was a comment made about this is a city, not a club. I didn't really get that, but it seemed to be a suggestion that there's some sort of an agenda that you know, this stuff was concocted for some reason, and it's what basically was recommended to us. And point number two is I own a business in Milton and a number of commercial properties. I get this. I have friends that are also business owners, and they've said to me, man, what did y'all do to that sign ordinance? It's broken, or whatever the heck they said. And I said, send me an email with specific suggestions about which thing you think is broken, and I guarantee you we will put it on the table and we'll talk about it and look at it and figure out what makes sense. And I never got a single specific recommendation, and those are my friends. I actually have some friends. These guys don't buy that, but so anyway, I would just say, we get it. There's issues, but 5%'s too small. It needs to be more. 24%, 24 square feet's too small. You need to help us out more. I don't know if you want to send us in a vacuum with that information and have us come, it's like, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. Specific recommendations are helpful. Thoughtful, specific recommendations, and we got something we can deal with, Otherwise, we're hip shooting, Anyway, that's it.
The next comment is from Paul Cherokee.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to
You know who Paul.
Just that it's 50 lots and if they take
Sriracha.
Sorry.
Address 12635 Crabapple Road, Milton, Georgia 3000. I own Cocopelli Bakery, and we just opened about 4 months ago, so we're very new. And basically, 70% of my business comes from those signs. So if I need to take them down, probably in the next 2 months, I'll go out of business because advertisement doesn't work as well as it should in Milton. So I'm just hoping, we can pass something. I know you said specifics, right?
Well, I asked
You asked.
specifics.
So in my personal opinion, I think between 30 and 50% of the window space, if we can get that, is what we have right now. And that's something that would work for me. But yeah, basically it's...
May I ask a question without burning up his time? Sure. I'm confused, and maybe everyone here knows more about this than me, but when you referred to the, I should know the name of it, the Dog Wash Cafe, see if you had better signage. Kidding. Did you all put signs up and then find out that they were not compliant with the sign ordinance, were asked to remove the signs, and now you're responding to that? So and that's news to me. So
We weren't signs from the pictures, it was just a few paw prints and services.
On the windows, yeah.
Right.
But still,
No. I get it. So you're reacting or responding to a request to reduce or remove your signage. Okay, I didn't understand that, and it's hard to respond to that without knowing what percentage of your windows you covered, and do you have a 1 square foot window or 100 square feet of window? So. But anyway, I didn't get that this was a response to that. So, thanks.
Well, basically that's all I've got to say.
Well, I have a question for you, and I don't want to use your time either, but really for both of you, you both made statements that out of my own curiosity, how do you know that 70% of your business is because of the sign?
Well, when I first opened, nobody came in. We did advertising, and then as soon as we put up the signs, almost every person that came in said they came in because they drove by and saw the cupcakes on the window.
Do you get a lot of repeat business?
Yeah.
And those people are coming in, the repeat businesses?
No, not the repeat business, but the new business.
So 70% of your business is new first-time business?
Yeah, even now.
Okay.
So I do have regulars, but most of my business is new. So yeah, a large chunk of it comes from people driving by and enhancing decals.
So I'm just asking this as a hypothetical. In the case of a new business, should we be talking about having a sign requirement that is different for the short term when a new business is being started versus the long term once they're established?
I don't think so. I think it should be the same for new and old. It just needs, you just gotta give it a shot. You gotta give it a chance, you know? So a decent size, something you can see, it helps everybody. Because even if you're old, you still attract new customers, you know, so.
Where's your store?
12635 Crabapple Road. So,
The-
right next to
Right.
The street from the old line.
How did I miss it?
Those cupcake signs, how large, depending on, I don't know the size of your windows, but how big were they? If you would say 5% is too small, what would you say those look like if you looked at a 3x5 window? How big were the cupcakes?
Cupcakes are a foot by a foot.
Foot by a foot?
Yeah. So,
Okay, that's good.
yeah. So,
That's fine.
I mean, it's a decent size, but it's not imposing.
And how many windows did you have those cupcakes in?
We have one on one window, one on another window, and two on the third window.
Okay.
So,
And how many windows do you have?
3.
Okay. And that's on the parking lot side of the business,
It's
correct?
on both sides.
Okay.
So we've got them.
So you've
on
got
the
6
street
windows.
side as well.
And if, as we think about this, are you suggesting that that would be your vehicle for advertising day in, day out, 365 days a year?
Mostly that, because I mean, I tried coupons, I tried online advertising. It doesn't work in this community. It's mostly word of mouth and then drive-bys. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand with advertising right now.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us hear from others that are here waiting, if that's okay, and we'll come back.
Okay,
Who's
the
next,
next comment is from Gus Kalansis.
Co-owner with Robin with Dog Wash Cafe.
Double teaming us.
What is the last name?
Kalanzas.
Sorry.
How do you spell that? If you don't mind?
Kalanzis.
Just like it sounds.
It is just like it sounds. It's
And it's
a
Dog
very
Wash.
unique last name. There's only one in the world. I do want to emphasize the 40 to 50% of our new customers come in because of our signage. We're quite aware of the community, and we've passed out the pictures of our signage. It's from the back, but our front signage is exactly the same on 3 windows. And we were even told we'd have to take our logo off the door. It's not really, it's a little more smaller than Milton's logo, and maybe a couple of inches wider and a couple inches taller. We were just hoping we could reach a compromise to get 30-40% of the window space. 5%, if you think about it, we put flyers up for our clients that are looking for a dog or trying to get a dog that they have found adopted. 8 by 10 in our window, that's over 5% of the window right there, just for a flyer. Or for community goings on, we have the Antiques Festival next weekend. We've got an 8 by 10 flyer on the window. That's a violation. And it's just announcing to the public things. And it's also for our walk-ins, a good example. And we do get 40 to 50% of our new people, our new clients, come in because of the signage on the windows. Our little dog prints, grooming, dog wash. It's not that obnoxious. But a good example of something that happened less than 2 weeks ago. Arbor Terrace, a lady drove by. She's employed at Arbor Terrace. She drove by, walked in, and asked us if we would come out there. They had an amateur dog show a couple of Saturdays out
In
there.
2 minutes.
Am I done?
Finish your sentence.
Oh, okay. They had an amateur dog show. They asked us to come. We went. We were judges at the dog show, gave out a few prizes. The only reason she knew the shop was there was because of the signage. We have tried the neighborhood newspaper. We put ads in there for 6 months for coupons. The response was very, very light. I'd say we won't probably do it again. It just wasn't cost effective. Our signs, I don't know if it's a little prejudice on my part. I just don't think they're that intrusive, and I'd like to see a little more than the 5% if that's possible. If we could reach something that would be good. As I look at the door here, to the entrance here, we've got notices up. That's a lot greater than 5%. Looks pretty close to 30 to 40%. And I was hoping we could reach a compromise somewhere along those lines.
And, Mr. Glanz, do you use any other vehicles for advertising besides your signs?
Yes, we do. This was one idea we have. We take a Ziploc bag, we put a coupon in it and a dime biscuit, and my co-owner and myself drive around and fling those at people's driveways where it's appropriate. There's no soliciting allowed.
But not newspaper, not internet, not...
We have done,
okay.
newspaper, we're all over the internet that we do.
Okay.
The most effective thing has been the signs in our window.
Great. Okay, thank you.
One more thing before you go. Have you determined what percentage your signs total up to now?
Every time we have a new client come into a store, and you get to know your clients well.
No, I mean
the percentage of your window.
Right now, what percentage of window space is being?
Hard to say because we got paw prints up there.
I know.
But from the photo,
20?
I would say somewhere 20, 30.
Right. I'd say about 20 based on that picture.
Just from what we the picture shows it. But at the same time, we're helping to sponsor the race in Milton, the World's Hoppiest Road Race here in November. And it's an 8x10 flyer. We put that up in our window for any community thing that's going on. We help place dogs that have been found in Milton. An older couple down the street found a dog that was this big.
We're gonna have to cut you off.
70s and 80s. We helped place that dog without a picture in our window.
There are no more owners of your business, are there?
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. The next comment is from Lauren Holmes.
My name's Lauren Holmes. I'm a resident of Milton at 13900 Haygood Road, Milton 3004. I am the managing broker of the Crylak Realtors office and a realtor that works primarily in Milton. I wanted to talk about real estate signs as well as for the Milton Business Alliance. Even though we are non-adversarial, I do hear a lot of comments coming from the business owners in that aspect. To start off with, as far as subdivisions go, they have their own laws that we do have to abide by, so I'm really speaking about open road neighborhoods. What I'm looking for, instead of 20 feet, which was changed after Fulton County was 10 feet, and now it was changed to 20 feet, I'd like it to go back to 10 feet off the road. And the reason why is because that's what's mowed on open road neighborhoods. We need to be able to see the signs, 20 feet, usually behind the fence and in the woods. And I also would like to change it from a 4 square feet to an 8 square feet for those open road neighborhoods. I believe that safety issue is involved in that. The fact that people are driving by I know what the speed limits are, but we actually know what people are driving when they're driving down Birmingham Highway, Freemanville, et cetera. And they are going a little fast, so if you're going a little slow to try and write a phone number down, you're going to have a difficult time. With the economy today, with people having a hard time selling their homes, I think you're just making it harder for us to do it. When the time comes for you to sell your house, you will understand what I'm talking about. As far as temporary, when I say 8 square feet, I'm talking about without having to get a permit. That's something that we can just put up. Curtis, what you were talking about earlier, part of the reason is when this was Fulton County and there were laws, they rarely policed them. So people ran amok and did whatever they wanted to. The temporary signs on the corner were outrageous. I agree with that never happening again. It was awful. I do know that they, as far as I know, you can put them up Friday afternoon as long as they're down by Sunday and they're not in the right-of-way. Again, 10 feet, not 20 feet, because they'll end up in the woods, and there's no sense in putting the sign out.
Lauren, we're going to have to cut you off. Any questions for Lauren? I have one. Are your comments limited to real estate signs?
No, actually, I would like to talk as far as the Milton Business Alliance just very quickly about new businesses. I think need a little bit more leeway. I think there should be something given to them, more banners, whatever, just to get them up and running.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to make a just 2-second comment about his cupcake sign. I drive by through Crabapple at least twice a day, and I didn't even know he had cupcakes until I saw his sign. So, I'm glad that you did the sandwich signs. If you're making that change, that's a great thing. But I still think that people, as long as their stores are open, should be able to put something up and take it down when it's closed.
Okay.
Any questions?
Curtis?
I do, and the 8-foot versus 4-foot is one of the things that I noticed didn't seem sensible, although on paper it didn't seem unsensible. Is that a word? Nonsensible?
Probably.
And it's actually a safety issue. As you said, you can't get a phone number off those things at speed, and so for the real estate signs, et cetera, I thought that was an example of something that didn't make sense under the right circumstance. I mean, there's got to be a balance, and and all that sort of thing. But you are someone that I've talked with about this over the years, and I hate to. You don't have anyone like Mr. Kalanzas that could speak on your behalf if you sit down.
No, I believe that I am the only realtor here today.
Well,
wanting
Jennifer's a realtor, and she represented realtor on the informal subcommittee, so it's gotten some intelligence. But it's a service not just to the businesses; it's a service to the citizens of Milton, and it needs to be effective. Within balance and reason and everything else. I'd hate to cut this off, as I know that Lauren's given it a lot of thought, unless you want to wait till the end and see if there's
I'm
more
not trying
time.
to, just to be clear, I'm not trying to cut everybody off. There's a lot of people here, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. So anybody can come up for a second or a third time, and as far as I'm concerned, when they come back again, we won't have a 2-minute time limit.
Well, my main things were the 10 feet off the road and the size of the signs.
Okay.
Yeah. If I could just address that, Lauren, I know you did attend a meeting or two of our subcommittee, and we appreciate the contributions that you made, and we did hear you loud and clear. The work continued after you weren't able to join us for additional meetings, but we did move forward with some suggested changes to the ordinance. We didn't go as far as 8 square feet currently. We went beyond. We're at 9. We're at 9 currently.
Bring it back to 8.
Well, I have to tell you that this was the first time I saw it, and I actually could not read it fast enough to understand that, so I just wanted to make sure
We
that.
did move to 9. I will tell you, we have not currently.
But I believe it
addressed
said
the-
permitted on there. I mean, what little I was reading.
It won't be necessarily permitted, Angela. I don't think we did address it by. You referenced open road neighborhoods, and we do have a list that we're suggesting be contemplated by the mayor and council as well. It's not everywhere in the city, as you can imagine. It's not in neighborhoods. Neighborhood signs are the standard signs. I think they're currently at 6 square feet.
Right.
And unless prohibited by.
No, actually, I think they're 4 square feet.
Well, unless prohibited by covenants.
Right.
So
But I mean,
we've
I s-
allowed for 6
Okay.
in the current suggestions to the mayor and council, 9 on identified open roads that are typically posted 45 miles an hour, and we'd be happy to share those if need be, if people are looking for that level of detail.
And I understand that, but you did just lower some of the speed limits so that would not even count any of Bethany or,
It's not speed-based, it's identified
Okay.
as major collector roads, and so we can address those if appropriate later in the evening. Thank you for your contribution both to the committee and this evening.
thank you.
Who's next, Robin?
Okay, the next comment is from Molly Weiss, or Wills, or Wees.
Molly will tell us.
Yes, sorry.
Hi, I'm Molly Weiss. I live in Milton and own a shop in Milton. It's called The Twisted Thread. We're an upscale resale boutique. And currently I have 12-inch by 12-inch or 1-foot signs.
Are you also in Crabapple?
Pardon?
Where is your business?
Yes, it's in
Crabapple.
Crabapple. It's in the same set of buildings as the Old Blind Dog, Fair LaBelle.
That's what I thought it was.
I have the 12-inch by 12-inch signs. And what I do is when I have an influx of a certain brand of clothing come in, especially high-end clothing, I put those signs up in the windows. Every other window, I have roughly 20 some odd windows that are 4 foot by 8 foot. I've been asked to take the signs down. This would drastically affect my business. I already have people who don't understand what kind of business I am that come in and ask. They come in the door, what kind of business are you? You know, what do you do here? I also have mannequins that stand about a foot inside of my window with various articles of clothing that we're featuring on them. And I've been warned that those may or may not be in violation. They're not sure. But if those are in violation, I will go under. I will not be able to stay afloat. And I can tell you that I have a really good traffic pattern right now, but it's only because of the 12-inch by 12-inch signs that I had been putting up in my window that I've since been asked to take down, and the mannequins that I have not taken down, because I wouldn't be here today as a business owner if I did.
Let me ask you a question to make sure I understand. You said you've got 20 4x8 windows?
Yes.
How many of these 1x1 signs do you have up?
I have,
Give
right
or-
now I have 6 up. I was asked to take them down. I started taking them down.
Well, unless my
before.
math's wrong, you would be
5%.
allowed to have 32 signs
Yeah.
up and still be in
I
compliance
was
with the
told to take
ordinance.
them down.
Did
It's
I get that
640
right? Is
Well,
it
that's
24 by
now let
8
me-
foot windows?
Yeah, it's 640
640
square
square
feet,
feet.
and
Let me
5% is
clarify.
32 square feet.
That can't be right.
These are
Okay.
paper signs. I don't know if that's the issue because they're not hard-formed signs. I'm confused as well as to why I'm in
Okay.
violation.
Robin, can you add any light?
Currently, Crabapple and Birmingham do not allow any window signs, so that's why.
Oh, under the overlay.
And because of the overlay. This 5% is just a proposed, so currently, when code enforcement went
Okay.
around, there's no window signs.
Good point. But I think it's important for Molly to understand that if the 5% were to be
Right.
approved, that what she's doing would not be in violation of the ordinance.
And then my second question is about the mannequins that I have, the dress forms that stand inside the windows that are clothed and changed out from time to time.
That's not a
Hey,
sign.
Robin, can you
but
address
the
that?
mannequins on the street
Well-
are offensive.
Mannequins, I mean, I get.
Maybe
I-
offensive, they're not signs.
Well,
I mean, I
the sign
believe
also
it-
uses a sign.
Oh, there's advertising on the mannequin?
Right. You use
Yeah,
a
for
mannequin
window
outside your
display.
store as well, don't
I
you?
do place, every morning I place the mannequin outside, right?
Okay, and you do understand that's currently in violation.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been
an
told that.
object would be outside. I don't think that,
Windows
I've
didn't cut,
heard-
inside windows aren't cut.
I believe that to have a window dressing of your wares would not be signage.
No.
No,
But the
but,
mannequin
but the
outside.
mannequin outside, but I think that we're also going to be putting, you know, if the council approves a sandwich sign, that would be something that you could put out in lieu of the mannequin.
Well, I would really like to request that you reconsider being able, because I've had a ton of people tell me, again, they've come in, and since I started putting the mannequin outside, it grabbed attention. People travel through that area very quickly. There's no time to stop and look sideways to see what's there. But a mannequin standing out there, clothed in a nice dress or a nice outfit, catches attention. I don't think it's out of keeping with the area and, with the image that we were trying to present. So, unless there's I would like to be told why, if that's not something that can be done. Really, what's the justification for that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next comment is from Kelly.
May I ask one quick question on the Dog Wash Cafe? How many square feet of windows do you all have? Big.
I will say,
Yeah,
Curtis, I
okay.
do believe that the Twisted Thread have much larger windows because they're much taller versus it's a one-story building across the street where the dog wash is. So,
Yeah.
not that helps, but they're not huge.
No, I get it, but it points out the complexity of trying to put
5%.
compliance on something like this. You got to take percentages and size into account, and then there have to be upper limits, and which isn't to say don't deal with it, but it's not as simple as it sounds from a codification standpoint.
But based,
Well, I didn't mean to get that. I thought you might know. So,
but based on what I looked at, it looks like a 4x6. So the 5%
They're not that
is going to okay that.
They're not that big.
But they're not?
I don't think so. I don't think they're that wide.
that's okay. It's not 640 square feet,
No.
so
Okay.
means something a lot different from an impact standpoint.
So what I'm hearing, maybe just a nod of heads or a show of hands, is, obviously 0 is not acceptable to anybody, and that's what the current ordinance reads because that's what we adopted when we adopted the Fulton County ordinance. Our attempt to move in the right direction is to add something. 5% may not be the right number, but we're going in the right direction. If we were able to create something that is recognizing that we've heard your voices tonight, directionally, a number, 5%, 10%, whatever the number is directionally correct.
From the street where you could reasonably tell.
It's unlikely to be 50, but more than 5, maybe, so.
Not to split it. Not,
Well, and it may depend on the size of the number of square feet you have available too.
It also depends on how well you can see these windows. Nobody can look straight into these windows as they're coming along. If you're driving down Crabapple with...
Actually, would you mind coming, we'd love to have you in the record.
I didn't mean to take this way.
My name is Amanda Quintana, and I'm the Crabapple Station HOA president. So I live in the neighborhood that's behind these 3 stores. I'm 101 steps from Cocopelli Bakery because it used to be a dry cleaner, and I would love being that close to a dry cleaning store. But it went out of business, and it was out of business for a long time. And now Paul's there, and he's fabulous. But he's not going to last very long in this climate. He has to find customers. And as you come from Crabapple to Birmingham, you see crepe myrtle trees. And through the trees, you might get to see these windows. And then when you see the windows, there's just really not a good sign ordinance for Crabapple. It needs to have better signage instead of everywhere else because it is so packed together and it's trying to be homey. And I think it's trying to be homey like Roswell. But if you drive through Roswell on a Thursday, a Friday, or a Saturday, you're not going to see something that you think is quaint and lovely. You're going to see a packed, fabulous place with mannequins on the street. And I personally, I'm the vice president of the Crabapple Community Association. I work for the city of Milton as their community builder. I love this area. And right now, I think I wrote it down, we have 2 of the areas that are empty. We have Element is empty, and where the Anytime Fitness is empty. If the dog place leaves and Cocopelli's dies, we're more than half empty again. And our money for our homes is so tied to this commercial area. And I'm not the only people. We have 65 people coming to our neighborhood. 25 only are there right now. Across the street, you have John Whelan, you have the old neighborhood, you have the 3 separate subdivisions are right there. We've lost $200,000 in the prices of our homes because the commercial hasn't worked out. So I beg you, please fix Crabapple so that it can be a vibrant, fabulous place. Thank you.
Not to split hairs, but for those of you who have said 70% or 40 to 50% of your new business is coming from advertising, is it coming from the Crabapple Road advertising, or is it coming from the advertising that's internal to the commercial area? Do you know? Crabapple Road.
It's specifically stated by our client.
No, I understand, but you said you've got signs on both sides of the building, right?
We do. You see, we have like SIP and restaurants and nail salons, and we've got people walking constantly. So that's our walk-in traffic.
Okay, so you don't know. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Rob.
The next comment is from Kelly Hughes.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Hughes. I'm Scratch Fresh on Highway 9. I'm not real sure what happened with the sign ordinance, but I was told that we could have the little yard signs. So we have what we called our scratch man out front. Little yellow guy who's cute, holding up hot biscuits or juicy burgers. Tons of people would come and say, didn't even know you were here until I saw your little yellow man out front. Now he's gone. And it's going to kill our business because nobody knows us. We are word of mouth, primarily. All of us are small business owners. And word of mouth goes a long way, but signage helps us. And I don't have any suggestions. I wish I did. I wish I could fix it. And I know that we don't want our community to look jumped up and crazy looking and signs everywhere. But in this economy, we've got to do what we can to keep our businesses afloat and to be able to make ends meet. And without being able to have some kind of signage out towards the road that can bring attention into that little windward way, it's almost like they have tunnel vision when they go by us. We've been there 18 months, and I still have people today come in and say, how long you been here? Been here 18 months. God, I didn't even know you were here. Saw your little man out front, though, and thought I'd come in and have a hot biscuit. You know, so those signs do work, and they do help us tremendously. And I have online, I've got a website. I get out marketing with my coupons and giving those out, trying to bring in new people. But signage is so important to a business, and I know several of you are business owners, and you know that as well. And as a community, I know that we want to live somewhere that is beautiful and nice. But when you're on Highway 9, I'm not in Crabapple, by the way. When you're on Highway 9, that's 45 miles an hour. And if I don't have something out there to catch someone's attention other than the sign that's on my building, they're going to pass me by, and they're going to go to McDonald's, they're going to go to Burger King, they're going to go to all the chains, but they're not going to see Scratch Fresh. And what a wonderful atmosphere we have there, and a great product, and we just want to be able to get that across
2
to
minutes.
people and have them come in and join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, one question. I know where you are on Highway 9. Is there not a sign for the shopping center itself out on the highway?
We do have a monument. Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? The monument's not real visible. We've got just this small little space on there, and it's not well lit at night. I don't know how we can go about getting that fixed. Of course, that's with the building owner, I know. But for some reason, people just don't see that particular monument. They'll see the huge one at the entrance, but I'm not on that one. I've got my own, there's 3 different signs there, 3 different monument signs. The primary one is right there at the drive, we pull in. Of course, people know that Soul Salons is there, and they know that, whoever else is on there, the Cape World and those people, but I'm not on that one. I'm on the one down here that's not really noticeable. It's just kind of like a tree you drive by every day and you don't really pay any attention to it. so that's why we were using our little, all they were the little green men that you see people put out slow children playing. We just stuck our little sign in his hand and said, come and have a hot biscuit, or then we'd change it at lunchtime and say juicy burger, or sometimes we'd even put cold shake out there when it was really hot outside. And surprisingly, people did notice that, and they would come in and then the next thing I know, they said, oh, somebody said they saw your little man out there, so we came in too, So it is a word of mouth thing, but we've got to be able to draw those customers to us. And like with her mannequins, we've got to be creative. We can't just stick you can't just stick a sign up on the wall out there and expect people to know what Scratch Fresh is if we're not promoting and being creative in how we pull those people in.
Thank you.
Okay. The next commenter is Buck Bell.
Hey everybody, Buck Bell, 13225 Bethany Road. We also own Milton's Restaurant, the Cotton Gin and Crab Apple. We run a business in those buildings. The sign ordinance is not broken, guys. It's outdated, non-bearing. Curtis, you were on the right track. Mid-90s, myself, community members in Fulton County wrote that current ordinance for Crab Apple and Birmingham. That's what I'm talking about. It has floated all the way up to this point with very, very little change or updating. The problem at that time was we didn't have any commercial buildings. We developed an ordinance that was to guard us against sign abuse, to give us some aesthetic value. It was based on something we didn't know, but we built what we thought worked, based on Roswell and based on other things. What's happened is we've now built Crab Apple, we've now built Birmingham, we have a bunch of buildings that were built on the buildings being designed the way they were, not built around what signage would provide for them. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? I guess we should have all built our buildings how the sign would work. Lots of things wrong with it. The window signs, I remember talking about that, not wanting to junk it up with beer on sale and everything else. Everything is a misinterpretation these days. We follow this black line we drew in the sand, and there's no governing, there's no leniency to it. It's all interpretation, and it's wrong. It should be specific to individual areas. This is just basically a graphic design problem we got here. Everything graphically can be done right, it can be done aesthetically, it can be done pleasing. Crab Apple used to have these little hanging signs that kind of told everybody where everything was around the area. So when you went into Crab Apple, you kind of knew what was happening there. You felt the quaintness. The graphics of the signage actually pulled Crab Apple together. It was a graphic design problem. Right now, you can stand at 5 vantage points, take a picture of each building, draw a sign on that building where it would serve the business best, print it out, scale it, and know how big that sign needs to be to promote that business. It's a very, very simple process at this point. We build it. Now we just have to design it. We have to fill in the gaps. We have to put the wallpaper on it. All these folks that are talking about here today, I agree. I'm a marketing guy. So I say, yes, signage does work, and signage is needed. And the other thing I'm going to close with is mannequins are allowed to be out in Crab Apple. All you have to do is put a sign on with a price. Because the Lawnmower Service Group existed out there for a year selling their lawnmowers out in the front. I complained about the ugliness of it and everything else, and I was told that businesses have a right to sell their products out in their front yard. So if I want to pull kids' clothes out into the front of Crab Apple, and Milton's wants to serve hamburgers, and this guy wants to she wants to sell mannequins and clothes on it, guys, you can't do one for none and none for the other. So, your current regime, your current staff, and this was all part of that decision. So, let's be a little bit fairer to businesses. Let's try to make businesses happy. Let's try to make them successful in Milton. We're all getting a terrible reputation out there that we're not very friendly to business. And people are taking decisions to go elsewhere than come to Milton. We need the businesses. We need to succeed. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Questions? Robin?
Okay. The next comment is from Robert Gray.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bob Gray. I'm the owner of Bobby G Chicago Eatery. We've been doing business here in Milton for almost 8 years. We used to be on Morris and Webb here, and when we moved over to the new location after our lease expired, I had a conversation with Chris Langerbloom, and he promised me I was going to be able to move my concept lot, stock and barrel, from point A to point B, which is exactly what I did. 4 months later, they came and told me that I have to turn my signs off. Since we've turned the signs off, you want specifics, we're $15,000 down per month since we turned those signs off. Without getting into specifics as to what kind of revenues we do, because that's kind of a private matter, it's around 20-25% of my revenue. I'm in the process, I employ 21 people in this town. Probably going to be employing about 15 soon. So, the bottom line for us is we own little brick and mortar businesses. The main advertising vehicle that we have is the expense that we put into those brick and mortar businesses. That's our fixed cost is probably the biggest cost that we have. We're able to advertise on that fixed cost, drives in business. We're about image, we're about branding, we're about atmosphere. Bottom line, though, we're about revenue. So we need to have those revenues coming in to be able to pay our taxes, pay our vendors. We have a relationship with our vendors. In my case, it's a Chicago product. We've got a relationship with a company called Vienna Beef. Not allowed to turn on that sign. That sign probably draws in more business than any singular sign that I have. People see that sign, they know that sign. People from the north know that sign. It's a very good brand, can't turn it on. Now, I've done some experiments. I've automated all my signs. I don't have a button. I can turn them on, I can turn them off. On a Friday night, I'm going to run with no signage. Completely dark there, okay, which is what the ordinance calls for. We do about 3,000, all right? Turn those signs on a Friday night, I do 5,500. That's real hard dollars that we need to operate that business. That is not cheap. That is not cheap space. It's a great location. Love Milton. Perfect spot to be. Easy in, easy out. Most expensive retail space in this economy that you can get. And I need to be able to bring in enough money to support that space. I have 2,500 square feet there. 21 people working for me. Got a lot of overhead. Margins in the restaurant business are extremely thin. It's all about fixed cost numbers. Being
2
able to
minutes.
advertise. I don't have the advertising budget to run $600, $700, $800 ads in the newspaper that nobody's going to read. Okay? We do some social media, we do some internet stuff. Our primary advertising vehicle is a signage that y'all forced me to turn off, and I'm not real happy about the situation that we find ourselves in. So I'd like you to consider 50%. We have windows that are like this with a small window up on top. I have neons in each one. They're tastefully done. It's a nice atmosphere. I have polled over 200 of my customers. Not one of them has a problem with the neons. What they do have a problem with is the ordinance that I'm having to operate my business under. So I appreciate the time, and thank you.
Bob, I didn't catch your last name.
IG. Robert, come on, Robert. Mr. Gray, don't leave. Come on back up. We have questions. Curtis.
Where did you move your business to?
We were at Webb and Morris. It used to be Alpharetta. They came to me and said, we're going to turn this place into Milton. Will you support us? I said, sure. We put signs out everywhere.
Where did you move it to?
We moved it over here to Webb and Highway 9. Listen, Highway 9 is a business district.
Across from the Target.
Curtis
shopping
is not
center
from the
there,
north.
where the Aldi is. You know where that Aldi is?
We can change that.
He's
Curtis, come on in and see me.
Aldi's on one end, he's on the other end.
I've eaten at your restaurant at Webb and Morris, and it was actually one of the places that I took pictures of when we were looking at neon and talking about neon, and the gas station convenience store right next door. I know your. I don't know why I haven't seen it. Maybe because the signs are off. But
The signs are off, Curtis. And people do fly by there, and I do understand. This is a polarizing
well, you're
issue.
embedded. You've got a different issue in that lot. But I hear you. I just wanted to.
Well, it's a
understand
polarizing issue because I've also heard this thing about grandfathering people in. So we're penalizing new businesses that really need that foothold, that really need the exposure to get a foothold that people know that they're here. Those are the ones that we're penalizing. Other businesses like Montana's and places that have been here for a while, just like I was, but I guess because I moved, that disavowed any previous affiliation with Milton, so I wasn't part of the grandfather clause. I don't understand that, but that's a whole other issue. But the grandfather issue does create kind of an animosity between businesses that some people that have been here longer get certain leeway that other businesses don't.
Thanks.
I don't have any more cards, but I know somebody
Becky's
is filling
coming
one
up.
out, so.
Becky's coming
Hey, Brenda.
up. Brenda, I'm sorry.
You must stay up, Brenda. Brenda Hempel.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late. I got stuck downtown in the traffic. I'm Brenda Hemphill. I own Katie's Car Wash. And the reason I'm here is everybody has talked to you about what is wrong. I'm supporting this, and I was on the, what'd you call it, Paul, earlier? What was our committee, our
An
unofficial? Informal, okay.
Subcommittee.
I participated in that, and the reason I did it was because when I first built my car wash, I was under North Fulton County, and I supported the city of Milton when it came in. We've participated in a lot of Milton activities, and we're very much a community business. And I've heard everybody, what everybody's had to say about the signs and how hard it is and how difficult it is. And so I thought, well, the best thing I can do is kind of participate and say what I, see now and going forward. But going forward's the big issue. You guys have got a huge task in front of you, not to just solve what's wrong now. But the one thing I tried to convey in the informal committee is we're not Peachtree City. If you drive down the road past my business, you go straight into Alpharetta. If you don't know I'm there, and I'm saying me, not just me, Katie's Car Wash, any business, then Alpharetta may get the business, or Roswell, or Johns Creek. So the problem we have is we're not in isolation like a Peachtree City. And I just want you to keep that in mind as you're going forward, because you can't just solve today's problem. This is like the gentleman said about it being outdated. Whatever you come up with today has got to last for several years going forward. So you got a hard task in terms of trying to change the sign ordinance, because you can't just think about the past, you got to think about the future. And the one that summed it up for me was this lady right here. If we don't have any businesses, we're in bad trouble. So again, I'm just trying to plant
2
the future
minutes.
seed, not the past seed. They've already done the past seed for you. But keep that in mind, would you please? Thank you.
What the heck's going on?
Just Mark.
Oh. Okay, no more cards?
No more cards unless anybody else
Okay.
come in. Okay, that's
If
it.
anybody who's already spoken, you're welcome to come back up again if you need more airtime.
Just want to say thanks for your patience.
Sure.
Ron, nothing?
Molly, come on up.
I just want to say that I didn't get a chance to collect a lot of it because I haven't been in the shop. I started collecting just some names of Milton residents, explaining what I wanted to do and pointing out some of the signage I had in place and asking them as residents, was that offensive to them or not in keeping with their vision of the Milton Crabapple area. And so anyway, I don't know who I would give this to, but it's just a list of names of people who went into my shop and enjoy what I brought to the area and hope that we get to stay there. So.
At the risk, would anybody else like to speak? Sure. Come on.
I want to speak to how hard it is for this, because Molly lives closer to me than, is the closest person to Crabapple Road. She started this business 4 months before it opened, and every day, all day long, collecting other people's clothes until she didn't have any room to sleep on her bed. Her whole entire house was filled with her product. And to open, she has worked tirelessly every day, day in and day out. My 12-year-old son thinks that it's his business, it's his responsibility to keep Paul, the bakery guy, in business. So every day, the Friday, he's trying to bring business from Scoops over to the bakery because it's a more sophisticated place to hang out. These are people that work really hard in an area that everybody says, oh, I love Crabapple, it's so nice. But it's struggling. And I think that eventually when we're not struggling, y'all can have some different, decisions on what you need to do. But right now, I wish that was at the top of your priority list, that these people want their businesses to succeed. And our city should help with that.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I just want to make a comment to everyone here, and I hope you'll carry this out to the community as well, is that, understand we're not your opponents on this. We adopted an ordinance that we thought was a good one, to Curtis's point earlier, and we've done our best to administer the ordinance. But in that comment, there's also the problem. We've done our best to administer the ordinance, and the city staff is required to do that. And so it's taken us, we're a young city at 5 years. The good news is we're a young city at 5 years. And we haven't had all these things in place for so long that they're going to be impossible to change. I will tell you, I was one of the ones who sat up here as one of the original members of the Planning Commission as well. And we took a hard look at the ordinance when it came across our table then too. And I adopted it in good faith, or suggested that the mayor and council, it wasn't me adopting it, it was mayor and council adopting it. We're the recommending bodies. We're not the decision-making body, we're the recommending body. And it looked pretty good at the time. Where I want to heighten an awareness is, I also was one of the first to put my hand in the air to say, I want to champion the change that we're looking at now, as did several other members of our team and staff willingly participated in this review. So we've got a lot of eyeballs who have looked at it. We really appreciate the time that all of you have taken tonight. Those of you who have joined us in some of our subcommittee meetings, we will promise you that we'll take all these things to heart, and we'll do our very best to be sensitive to the things that you've brought forward tonight. It probably won't be perfect when we're done, but I do applaud the mayor and council for giving us this charge to go back and take a look at it so we have a chance to make it better than what it is today. George, can you call him Buck? Buck's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Buck. Sure, absolutely.
Paul, I appreciate your words. I've always said, when it comes down to government, I'm a private citizen. I'm like a speedboat, and I'm not a barge, so I move a little quicker. I understand what the things you're saying, but there's just not any meat behind the muscle. I hate to say it. The problem that we have is almost a year ago, I met with Chris Lagerbloom at the Old Blind Dog, with Ron and many people from the Milton Business Association. We talked about the problems. We talked about the same thing I said to you earlier. I'm a professional graphic artist, marketing individual. I'm an internet guy. I'm a creative fellow. I offered my time for free, because I knew you guys wouldn't have any money to pay anybody like me, to go in and do a proposal to show you how all this would work. Again, I said, it's just a graphic design problem, folks. For years, people have come to me. They said, I've got a problem, I don't know how to fix it, give me your ideas. Thank you for your time. Implement it. There was discussion of a community roundtable. There was all this discussion. We'll be back in touch with you. I didn't even know about this meeting until someone called me third party yesterday to tell me this meeting was going to happen tonight. I didn't know you guys had a little secret committee. What was it, informal off?
Buck, let me be clear. It was not a secret committee.
Well,
I'll tell you, I stood personally, and there were several people in this room that will attest to that, at the Old Blind Dog, at the Milton Business Association meeting, and invited as many business owners as would like to be a part of our committee to join us. Some did.
And I was at the Blind Dog that night.
Time out, guys. This is not constructive. Let's finish your comments.
I was at the Blind Dog that night when Chris and the mayor were there, and we were all talking about what we're doing for Crabapple and doing for signage and doing all this stuff. I read Jason's emails. I don't remember any emails. I never got a phone call. Holy cow, I've only been supporting this city and Fulton County for the last 17 years with community effort. I'm not a new guy up here. You've seen me around for a long time, folks. I've helped write the Northwest Fulton Overlay District. I helped write the Crabapple Overlay District. I sat in the moratorium meetings. I helped get the city on the map. I chaired your design review board. I chaired your heritage preservation advisory board. You can't do much more to try to make something right. But when you put something on the table and it's a professional product and it's a freebie, even if you just throw it in the garbage after someone does it, you ought to at least look at what someone has to offer. So I'm a little shocked by it, and I understand what you're all up against, but this ordinance needs to go back to the drawing board, at least from Crabapple and Birmingham, and if you let me have a piece of Highway 9, I'll fix that too. Because there's a lot of things that can be done. It's simple graphics, it's simple aesthetics, it's simple good taste. And you cannot look at the numbers on the paper, and you cannot look at windows and suggest 5 or 10 or 15% or magic like that. And the other thing about it is life is not a straight line, folks, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. And if you don't start looking at everything as an individual problem, as an individual application, and interpret it to fit the intent of what our ordinance says, it's fine. But boy, the minute you start looking at something and say, no, you can't, because you can't, you can't. You just can't do it.
Okay.
All right? Well, I appreciate you letting me have that thought, but, you know, at some point you got to have to make change happen, Paul. And thanks for stopping me from talking. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else have any suggestions for specific change? I know most of the people that are here with a business perspective, but, you know, recognize that this sign ordinance is much broader than that. We've heard a little bit about real estate. Any other comments, thoughts about any other portions of the ordinance for those people that actually do live here? Brenda, come on up. We can't get you on the record unless you're up at the mic.
Basically, when we had discussions before, the current ordinance, and I won't say this like I wrote it, but we don't have permission for like directional signs, like entrance this way, don't go this way, or you'll fall off a cliff. Things of this nature. Is this being addressed currently?
Are you talking about road signs, or are you talking about directional
just
signs for
directional
businesses?
signs on property.
Yes, it is being looked at. Page 62.
Oh, okay. All right, I don't know what.
Exits, handicap parking, chamber, fire department, post office, those type signs. Yes.
And some of that discussion took place after, in some of the later meetings that you weren't able to join us.
Okay.
Even showing examples.
Okay, great.
And we did hear loud and clear some of the things that you had shared with us in the meetings that you were able to join us.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gray. Got to come up.
You know, one thing that occurs to me is that you might want to componentize, because it's going to be tough to get this thing right, all right? Crabapple is a different area. I drive through it on my way home every night. Very quaint, very nice. Everything's together right on the street. Different feel there than we have going down Highway 9. Highway 9's a big box area. We've got Kohl's, we've got Target, we've got Big's box stores, we've got people doing 45, 50 miles an hour down here. So I think when you draft this ordinance, or when you look at changes and stuff, that you really have to look at what components of the ordinance should apply to certain areas, all right? Highway 9 is a business district. So we should be able to flash our lights and bring in business. That's what we're here for. More business, more revenue, more taxes, more jobs, more everything. Crabapple, they may be able to accomplish what they need to accomplish in a much different way just because of the environment that they're in. I don't know some of the other areas, but I sympathize with them because I'm going to tell you something, man. And if you guys need figures, I'm more than happy to bring in figures, and I can correlate them directly to when the code enforcement officer brought in, very nice gal, brought in her little piece of paper, and I said, what? It should have been there. It was fun. But I can correlate numbers. Bottom line, all of us want to be successful, got to have numbers. It's all about numbers at the end of the day, guys, numbers. You guys run government, you should know you're usually on the other side of numbers. We're going to try to be on this side of numbers, okay? So.
Anyone else?
We run government.
Mr. Lusk.
I think it's an insult.
Bill Lusk at 1355 Summit Road, Milton. I'm speaking here as a resident and a general contractor. About 5 years ago, we as a general contractor installed some wayfinding signage for the Downtown Atlanta Development Authority. And to address Brenda's point there, it's an effective use of signage for public facilities, parks, City Hall, Fire Department. And these particular signs were designed by a Canadian sign company over here in Norcross. They're quite popular in a lot of cities that I've been in. They stand on 8-foot tall posts, and they're approximately 4 by 3. Very visible. The ones in downtown Atlanta, they're unique to each specific area of town, like Sweet Auburn area, the Capital District, Midtown. They identify certain areas of the town and provide signage which is quite visible to anybody passing through here not familiar with the area, and certainly for those residents who have lived here and still aren't familiar with the area. So I'd like to, and I will promote some wayfinding signage. I've presented that to the city manager before, and we will take a look at that as a citizen.
Bill, for clarity, and I'm familiar with Old Norcross has a lot of those signs up as well.
That's correct.
Are they not limited to public buildings?
They're not limited just to public buildings. Sweet Auburn area, for example, Martin Luther King Center, which is kind of a semi-public buildings managed by the Park Service. The parks down there, World Congress Center, Central City Park.
Okay, we're saying the same thing. I guess what I'm asking is, are you promoting, as a resident, promoting the idea of using that same approach, but using that signage for business advertising?
I think it's adaptable for businesses, small businesses. We're not that big here. Our commercial districts are not that large, and I think that would help to promote our local businesses here too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lance?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Fred.
Yeah. Mr. Gray, I think one of the comments that you made relative to government versus business. No. Well, I just want you to know I was the marketing director and advertising for 1,000 drugstores, 13 states. So there's nothing that has been said tonight that I haven't heard before in communities. So to let you know, at least part of this group understands these kind of problems.
And I appreciate that. What would the process be after the discussion this evening before we leave? If you could just kind of delineate that for me so I know where things go. Or do we wait? Because I got served my notice like about 8 or 9 months ago, so it cost me about $90,000. Just based on the historical revenue data that I had, pre-violation and post-violation. So this period of time, since about March, 15,000 on average, you would have. So I'm just wondering how much longer will the process be before we finally have an ordinance that hopefully meets us at least after.
We'll try and describe that before we break up tonight.
Lance Large. I live at 13770 Belpaire Drive. Coming here as a private citizen, not as a candidate. I'm not campaigning. I went the other day and sat with the 2 architect planners on the LCI study that's currently going on for Highway 9. And I don't know whether you all have interacted with those individuals or not, but I believe it's very important that you do, because that's setting the tone. That study is to set the tone for the area from Bethany Bend all the way down to Mayfield. Of course, Milton ends at Linwood. But wayfinding, setting up a livable communities initiative corridor, wayfinding is a big element in that. Creating a community energy It's very part of that. So I just wanted to make you all aware, of interacting with those individuals, and the individuals that are here that are business owners ought to be aware of that study is going on right now, and have an opportunity to interact with those individuals too as they develop this plan that the city has a grant for. It's an LCI study, Livable Communities Initiative, through GDOT. And I think it's a very important part, and signage is a very important part of that entire process. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I don't know that we need a motion to close public comment, but we should talk about what our path forward is going to be. We've got a draft in front of us that we haven't discussed. We've got a lot of comments from the community tonight that we need to consider. We've deferred this to the October meeting. In my opinion, we need to have a work session to deal with this between now and that October meeting if we're going to be able to move this forward expeditiously.
I agree.
So, Robin, can you look at the calendar and see if we can figure out a date to have a work session?
She stepped up. But
Oh, I can't. Robin's right behind the screen. I can't see
mine
her.
too.
Sorry about that. Okay, we'll when she gets back, we'll figure out a date. Does that work for everybody? I mean, I think we really do need to do that.
Absolutely.
Any other comments that anybody here on the commission wants to make this evening?
I have a question.
Sure.
Having heard the comments tonight and knowing what you have before you, that came from the work that we did as a subcommittee, would you suggest that we also again meet as a subcommittee prior to the work session to try to incorporate some of these things?
Who's the we? You mean the subcommittee that was working on the signs?
Yeah.
Paul, that's up to you guys. I mean, I don't know that is going to add a whole lot of value for all of us. I mean, if you want to do that.
Well, the reason I'm just contemplating it, not necessarily suggesting it's the solution, but some of the stuff that was discussed tonight is already addressed in some of the changes that you're going to see before you.
Right.
Not with the benefit of some of the detail we got tonight, but directionally,
sure,
we're going to the right place. But there were some new things I heard tonight too that are not contemplated, and so it's the benefit of work prior or the benefit of done by our table. So,
well, I guess my concern is one of timing. I mean, if we're going to talk about this at the Planning Commission in October with the idea of trying to have something in front of us that we can approve, if you guys meet and then there's further revisions, it just means that we've got to restart the clock again for this group for a work session if there's things that are continually changing.
well, I would suggest that if we were going to have a meeting at all, it would be done prior to the work session. So what would come to the work session would be what you have tonight plus some additional work done.
I don't have I don't know what you
Well,
guys think. I don't have a point.
That's really Paul's call. I mean, if you think there's that much that you need to change,
Well,
then
there's not.
we should
And the
probably
good
do it.
news is some of these things we are moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
And it will definitely benefit, let me say it differently. The document that you have before you will benefit from additional change, having heard what we heard tonight. It doesn't address everything that we heard tonight, but it does address some of the things we heard tonight.
Yeah, I mean, let's see if we can figure out when the work session is, and then if you guys want to meet between now and then,
I
that's
don't know.
certainly up to you.
Well, depends on dates.
Yeah. Robin, we need to, while you were out, we decided we need to have a work session just to talk about the sign ordinance between now and the October meeting.
Which is the 25th.
Oh, sorry, Curtis.
I was just going to say I would appreciate that if y'all would meet in advance to focus, drop down, etc. Just because, and I think it sheds light on our original discussions. We and probably Fred, Paul, me, you. So 4 of us were part of the original committee. We thought we beat it to death. I mean, we thought we looked at it from every angle you could look at it, and I guarantee there wasn't a person sitting in one of these chairs that thought that business would be negatively affected. I mean, that was not part of any thinking, and if it had been, it would have been soundly swatted down. So the more thought this gets, the better. There are so many angles when you're trying to come up with these arbitrary limits, and yet you've got to be thinking 10, 20 years out, and what if everyone does that in the most extreme case? The more brain cells on it, the better. I'd appreciate it.
Okay. We just need to just suggest a date for us that is an open night.
As I think somebody mentioned, the next October meeting is the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up to y'all what your schedules are. I mean, to your discretion.
Well, what night during the 25th is a Tuesday, so the
Right.
so what night during the week of the 10th?
10th
would be open.
I'm totally open. There's nothing going on for the
Do we want to
community
use
at all.
Tuesday, just because we're used to it?
Yeah,
The 11th?
I have a conflict that night.
Okay.
What's that?
10th?
10th I can do.
10th work? Curtis?
The 10th is
It's a Columbus, is a
Are
council
you guys
meeting.
open or?
Sorry?
work session by the city council.
Yeah, and that
You
will
said
staff
you
will
were
need to.
completely open.
I'm sorry.
Except for that.
Except for, it's also Columbus Day, but we're not off.
We're not
that
worried
day.
about that. How about the 12th? How about the 12th?
I'm no good on the 12th, but I'll just have to be late.
Well, we can start later. What's late?
I could be here by like 7:30.
We could start something.
That works for me.
Or we, you know what?
You good?
we can
Or,
start-
I mean,
Yep,
yeah,
I'm good.
Does the 12th work for everybody?
Fred's good.
Sure.
Yep.
Curtis?
12th, is that a Thursday?
It's
a
a
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, let me check that. Got my Czechoslovakian.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was biting my tongue.
I can't.
Do we have enough money in the budget to buy Curtis a new calendar?
The paper one.
They're complicated. I'm sorry. I can't figure out how.
I thought you were going to say you couldn't come.
No, it's the
Chris, help him
pressure.
with his
It's the
phone.
pressure. Wait a minute. Okay, what date is that?
12.
12?
Yeah.
7:30.
Oh my God.
I'll have to try to get out of something, but I will try to get out of.
All right, let's set the 12th at 7:30.
7:30?
Okay. Before we close, just for the benefit of everybody who's still here, I mean, one of the things that was not talked at all about tonight, Buck alluded to it in a lot of his comments with respect to graphic design, but one of the struggles that we have to live with is that we can't govern sign content. And that's been every time we've talked about this, we keep coming up against that. I mean, we've got to try and manage signs in a way that is absolutely content neutral, and that makes it kind of difficult in some cases, because in some cases we may think that, the Cocapelli Bakery sign is perfectly fine, and we like that because we like what it says and what it represents, and the same thing with the dog wash. But we might also have somebody right next door that has something that's just horrible and atrocious and nobody wants to see it. We can't govern sign content, so we can only work with the physical aspects of what the signage is and rely on, people to try and have good taste in promoting their businesses. But as Curtis said, our intent up here is in no way, shape, or form to try and impede the development of business, and we will certainly take that as a priority as we look at this again. Any closing comments, thoughts? We need to adjourn.
Appreciate all the comments.
Yeah,
Been very,
absolutely.
very good.
Thank you very much for coming.
Absolutely.
By the way, just for those of you that heard some of the comments tonight about a lot of these meetings, I mean, there was discussion about the LCI. There was a meeting tonight in Crabapple about the transportation plan for Crabapple. Nobody mentioned that, but that happened tonight from 6 to 8. The meetings of the subcommittee that Paul talked about, all these are public meetings, and all of them are advertised on the website. I'm not sure your subcommittee meetings are, but all of the meetings that have been mentioned tonight, LCI, Crabapple, our work sessions, all of these discussions are advertised on the website. For tonight specifically, Robin went to great lengths to try and invite the business community to be here tonight and sent out email invitations to try and get people here tonight. So we do appreciate your being here, but the website's there and people need to try and use that as best they can, because that's the primary vehicle we have for communicating with the community. Thank you for coming. Lauren. Sure.
Who sent this to me? That is the only reason why a lot of these people even know that this is because I sent out I didn't hear anything from anyone. They know who we are. I mean, there are 6 people on the board, and not one of us was told that this was taking place until I received a flyer from a friend. And then I, of course, passed it on. So Mill Business Alliance does exist, and you guys know that. So
Well, Lauren, all I can say is that this meeting's been advertised per the ordinance for several weeks. It's on the website, the subject's on the website. It's been advertised for several weeks.
If you really wanted some input, we're here. Thank you.
The very day it was created, I emailed it to you.
Yeah, you're the friend.
Okay. See, I have friends.
Very important.
But I wasn't doing that. I was doing that in a capacity of our previous conversations, not the organization. You know what? And I figured that you would have received that 5 times before.
You forwarded to
Right. Right. Would you say that I'm your friend one more time for that?
While we're still on the record, yeah.
That's right.
Hang on. Let us adjourn, and then you can say it again. Yep. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.